So the one thing that normally stops people from starting anything is their mindset. It's having imposter syndrome. It's not feeling like you're good enough, not feeling like you have support. Your mindset is the thing that can take you from making a couple dollars here and there to making, millions of dollars. I felt that in my business, and I know a lot of other people have felt it. So today, I'm here to talk with Angie B. Winning, Angie Winfield. You mind if I say your last name?
Yeah, you good.
Oh, okay.
Because people think my name is Angie B. Winn.
That's what I thought so too.
It's actually Angelique Winfield. It's Angelique Bianca Winfield, and I just made it like Junie B. Jones.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's all good. Yeah. So we have Angie B. Winning here today. And for the people that don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Angelique B. Winning. My name is Angelique Winfield. And I am the founder of Angie B. Winning LLC, and I am a videographer and photographer, and I also help women and small businesses in the area create a social media presence for themselves by way of, helping them create the content or helping them to create the content or creating the content for them.
Okay. So I guess just to provide a little bit of context, like what got you into doing this type of work?
So I was never interested in doing anything on the camera. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do the influencer thing. I wanted to, work with brands.
Your content looks phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Definitely had to put in the work to learn, being focused on the right people. But it started just like that. I wanted to tell my story. I had been in business since 2010, and I wanted to pivot. Mm-hmm. Getting on social media during that time, back in 2011, it wasn't the tool that it is now. And so I started my website. My website was the first thing that I did. And then I just started to repurpose that content, taking pictures in my hallway, with putting my camera on the tripod and having my kids bunch up in our small hallway. But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. And then I started to get exposed to the potential that there was on Instagram. And so booking photo shoots every week or every other week, and just really establishing myself. But it started to get super competitive. Until it started to stress me out. It wasn't joyful anymore.
Not to cut you off, but it seemed like there was a moment where like nobody had a camera, and then everybody had a camera. Yeah, everybody had a camera, and it was fun. And when I go back and look at some of my work before, it was like, man, I want to get back to that space, but I got so distracted with what everybody else was saying and how you're supposed to do this. Everybody got the master class. Everybody this coach. Everybody's making $100,000 a month, and I'm looking at my bank account, and my bank account wasn't looking like that. So what was essentially the blueprint ended up no longer being the blueprint, and I began to follow behind what other people were doing. And until I gained weight and I didn't physically like the way I looked. And that's what actually got me behind the camera in February, because I was ready to just not do anything. Really?
And that's what made me, it started in my church. I started taking pictures. I literally have never picked up a camera, ever. Never, ever. The first time I picked up the camera, it was blurry. And I said, because I'm a quick learner.
Yeah.
And that wasn't something I was willing to dedicate the time to learn how to do at that time. And so all my friends who were photographers, I wasn't interested. I'm just going to hire somebody else to do it. But in February of 2022 was my first time I picked up the camera, started shooting in the church. And by week 4, I was shooting in manual. And then
a lot of people who've had a camera for years still don't do that.
Yeah, I just started shooting in manual. And I had friends. I just didn't believe in myself enough that I could learn how to do it.
So in this video, I kind of want to dive into 2 parts. Mindset, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people struggle with. People don't even know that they struggle with it, as well as on the branding side. So from your perspective, when it comes down to mindset, what are some things that you see just off the top of your head that you feel like entrepreneurs, or I know you kind of focus mostly or a lot of on women entrepreneurs,
right?
But what are some things that you see people struggle with when it comes to like their mindset?
Well, it's crazy because really when it comes to the mindset, you have to have that conversation or open up the door to have that conversation to realize that there are other people who have the same like limitations or limited beliefs about themselves. So that means that you have to be vulnerable on your own platform. Something that God told me is that not everything's going to come from an expert perspective. A lot of the stuff is going to come from your experience. That's the true meaning of having some skin in the game, you know, scratching them knees, getting those elbows bloody. Like really experiencing like I don't know what I'm doing or you know going through the motions of that as you're building your business. And I think that a lot of people are so caught up on the visuals of social media that they feel like, well, I can't have this conversation because all these people seem like they're established. Just like being in the class and being afraid to raise your hand and ask that question. And so I've noticed that when I put my vulnerable content out there and people DM me, either privately contact me or really start a conversation in the comments, is when it's like, okay, so there's a lot of women or a lot of people who have these limited beliefs, which are really setting them backwards. It's pulling them, pulling them backwards, because now, as my business coach told me, you're allowing your healing process to bleed into who you are as this business owner. And so things that are just strictly business, you're now taking personal. And they should not be taken personal because it's just business. People don't just want to work with you because your work isn't bad. It's just not aligned with what they're asking for. And that's just business.
So, all right, so back to the original question. Like, so just dealing with, you know, different clients and, you know, different women who are entrepreneurs or creators, what have you. Like, what are some things that, you know, you see that a lot of women actually deal with, or a lot of people deal with when it comes to like starting a business or, you know, running a business?
Man, social media can be, I love social media. Before I even say the negative thing, I love social media.
Same here.
I do. I really love it. I think it's an essential tool that you can connect with people. I've made some great friends on social media. I just feel like when people utilize it to bash other people, I'm always here for the comments just because I study them. I'm in a doctorate program. And so like, that's how I study. That's how I create my research. Because I like social media passionately. I just kind of like do content analysis on comments, and that's how I really got into mindset, like looking at what people thought, their mindsets, how people are really judgmental about other people's opinions and their thoughts and who they are. Like, I think it's crazy because we're individuals. You know, that's a whole different conversation. That's a whole
I'm completely with you though.
But yeah, you know, but people get onto social media and there's just so much, for lack of better words, it's a lot of fake and phony up here. People are creating their lives on the platform versus creating them on the platform. And then you have people, you know, like myself coming on from, you know, 2011 and it being a different structure in 2017, 2018 and feeling like they have to do all these things and you don't. Like, you don't have to do all these things, and more than likely the people who you're trying to keep up with, like, we're not being realistic with ourselves. You have a 9-to-5, you in school, you got 5 kids, 3 baby daddies, and you trying to show up in stories Monday through Sunday. It's not gonna work. Like, you really have to establish you can create. You can do all that you want to do. It's just going to look different, and you can't be afraid to allow your process to look different.
True. Because I feel like a lot of us will look at, you know, whoever is the pop-in person on social media and be like, I want my stuff to look like that, or I want to be this person, or, you know, whatever. Because I'm a person that's big on like finding a successful blueprint and kind of tweaking that to make it fit me. But I did that for so many years. Like, I was the person that was like a big Gary Vee fan like 5, 6, 7 years ago. And then like whoever else comes out, I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. And I see somebody, I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. And then you just don't even know who you are anymore. And that's the part that's like, it's sick. It's very sick. So I just now, you know, started to become more of who I am probably in the last 2 or 3 years.
And I personally like your style of approach because you have like, we see your personality, but you're teaching us, but in a very unique way. Yeah. It's not like you're just always sitting here. Some things are worth just a sit down. Yeah. But then other times, like you're talking, some can be voiceover and we're just seeing you move things. I personally like your approach and how you're teaching us, because people want something. Yeah. People want to learn something. People want to know that I can use what I have and create something. And I think that you open up that avenue for people to, get out and start with what they have. It's a very authentic platform, and I think people, like we talked about earlier, some people, it went from nobody having cameras to now everybody has a camera, and it's like you want to invest in this tool, but you don't really have the skill that's necessary for you to use this level of equipment. There's a channel on YouTube. I forgot the name of the business, but I love watching it because they give like the amateur, the most expensive video camera and all the equipment, and then they give the pro, a cell phone or an old camera.
And sometimes
the pro still dusts off the amateur.
I have so many people that reach out to me like on a weekly basis, like, hey, I'm trying to buy a camera. I want my content to look good. I'm like, yo, you don't need to do that. Like, if you got a pretty up-to-date phone, like you can make that work. You just got to know how to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know how to shoot better than most people, but like if you give me an iPhone, I'm going to make it look better than your footage.
Right.
So you just got to know how to use the tools that you have.
And another thing, like, you have to be okay with starting out and not being good. Like,
it's gonna be trash.
Like, it's gonna be trash. It's gonna be fuzzy. Like the conference I spoke at Saturday, that's what I told them. It might be. I mean, the practical things is what's gonna help you to level up. Yeah. But you have to get past that. Like, you can't be good if you don't know what bad looks like. Like, how do you become better at something if you have nothing to compare it to? Right.
And my major thing, even with that, is like, if you're consistent, that phase of being trash is going to be very small.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can, if you put out a video, if you say, you know what, I'm going to put out a video every single day, then maybe by day 30, day 60, it's going to be like, oh, this looks way better than it was, because you're putting in the reps.
Right.
Like, I'm a big proponent of, just like keep shooting. Like, not necessarily like, shooting videos, which that's kind of what it is, but it's just like, I'm a fan of Kobe and Jordan. Like, even when you have an off night, you got to keep shooting.
Exactly.
Because sooner or later, the bucket's going to start hitting.
Exactly.
And then you good. So, like, I tell that all the time, like, even when you're trash, just kind of keep putting out, because then you're going to start doing minor tweaks to each video, and then it's going to be good.
And study it. Like, go back and, man, when I post videos, I probably watch my stuff like I'm talking as soon as I post it. Like, I'm just watching it to say, okay, well, that color could have used some work. And not to a point where I'm nitpicking at myself and being like my biggest critic, but like, what can I do better? Like, what should I focus on? What did I not focus on when I shot? Because that, you have to study your work. It's like taking notes and not looking back at it. Right. Like, that is your note. Basketball players watch plays, they watch themselves, and they prepare themselves to go back in the game and do better, correct those mistakes. So you have to study what you're doing.
Okay. So a question for you. Like I said, I looked, over your page, and, I randomly used to, like, just check in and say, like, oh, see what Angie got going on. So what do you feel like is your content strategy?
So, my content strategy. Well, I tell people all the time, like, whatever your pillars are, if you know what your identity, your brand identity is, which falls under your pillars, then you never not know what to create. So you have a concept. It's really all about sitting down and fleshing out how you want to do it. I'm a big post-production person. So when I came into video, I also learned that I had to do pre-production as well, which meant I had to really make myself think. And so what I started to do was watch like a lot of documentaries. Like, one of my favorite, documentaries of people who have TV shows. Yeah. One of my favorite documentaries that I watched recently was Issa Rae's for her last
the last season of Security. I seen that. Yep.
So, and like, first of all, how they shot the documentary visually was amazing. And then
I might have to go back and watch that, actually.
I am too. Yeah. Was amazing how they did that. And so, like, when I see how they prepare for these scripts, and like, it's like, we're not putting you in front of the camera first. Yeah. We're gonna sit down we're gonna read this through, and we're gonna study like what you can do better before I even put you in the position for us to even rehearse. Yeah. We're gonna sit here so you can actually learn who this character is, because it's who you are is not who's on this paper.
Right.
And so that's what I started to take when it came to like creating my own content. Like, what kind of story do I want to tell? Like, I know I'm gonna have a caption. How do I want people to feel? That's gonna help me come up with my shots. You know, like if you want somebody to feel like they making the coffee with you, then your shots might be a little closer. You know, so I actually just sit down and I flesh out how do I want my audience to feel? Like, I stopped thinking about myself and started to think about like, how do I want people to feel? What do I want them to see? Out of it? Yeah, you know, because if they like it visually, then they'll read what you have to say verbally. If you decide not to do a voiceover. So, you know, those are the type of things that I do. And I allow myself, like, I don't do a lot of batch creating, especially now that I'm not connected to my 9-to-5.
What are your thoughts on batch creating?
So I think that depending on your lifestyle will determine how much you batch. So like if you work a 9-to-5, realistically, you're not going to want to come home from work and do a video, but you might, because I did it. I did it during December when I did the Reels Miss, but it's like, once you identify what your film days are, you break your film, your caption, your edit, all those things need to just be broken down into days. That's what I did when I worked a 9-to-5. But I did have a film day. And so when I was working a 9-to-5, I did batch. If I want to post 3 times, I might do 3. But then I also learned that capture your creativity, because you don't open up an opportunity for you to just be inspired by something and say, well, I'm going to post this today. Even though I only post on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I've just gotten into a position where I just, you know, I make sure that I discipline myself enough to always film. But like, it's really just quantity over quality for me.
Quantity over quality?
Quality over quantity.
Okay. I think for me, like, I used to batch, and I'm a big proponent of people batching. But what I realized for myself is it'd be 1 or 2 videos that I feel like are real good, and then the other videos I feel like are trash.
When you don't batch?
When I do batch.
Oh.
Because I used to be times when I would come in here and I was like, you know, I'm going to do like 7 to 10 videos. And I like, the first 2 videos will be real good. They'll get numbers, and then the other ones is like, I'm just trying to fill out a quota. So that kind of got me away. So now I just try to make sure that I record pretty much every part of my life, almost some Truman Show type stuff. And then I just can kind of put it together, add a voiceover to it, and then that's a story. Or if there's particular moments like where I need to like film something, I already know what I need to film.
Right.
Instead of, you know, making it a full day, then I can just have like, all right, I need a scene of me walking into the building. Then I might need to see a scene of me working at the computer, and then I can kind of just put that together. So like batching, for clients, I was like, you know what, we're going to batch, we're going to shoot 20 pieces of content right here, right now. And we're going to kind of spread it out. But for me, as somebody who always tries to tweak stuff, or, you know, if it sits too long, I'm not going to want to put it out. Then it's just like, all right, yeah, we're going to cut all that out. We're just going to shoot, you know, whenever I'm out doing stuff. So
I think when you work with clients, batching is, because I have a client that we're about to work with, because we're creating the content for them. Right. So we're wanting to take we're taking the load off of them. So that works for us. We're the ones who's creating the content. Right. So we're going to sit here either on a weekly, you know, if you're doing a weekly, or we shot this month, we're going to do everything. We're going to shoot, we're going to do the video, I'm going to send it everything, and we're going to talk about how you're going to distribute it on your platform. Right. But for myself, it's like, you know, I try to allow myself to be inspired too. Like, so I watch different things, and sometimes like, yo, that's a good idea, I can incorporate, and I will, like, off the cuff. If I'm not in the area, I always do voice memos so that I can have that content, and it might just be a voiceover. Right. So I try to give myself the flexibility to be creative.
Okay. All right, so let's kind of get into, transition to branding a little bit. So I know you say you do that with, some of your clients now. What do you feel makes for a strong brand?
You have to have, you have brand identity, but you have to also have your identity, and they intertwine, because you have to make, it doesn't matter if you have a product, service, if you are your brand, you have to still represent yourself, because you're the face. So if people see you, like, what's your, the soft skills. We learned about soft skills at the conference. Really, like, sitting down with yourself and breaking these things down. Like, what do I want people to know about me? What do I want them to think about me? How do I want to put out my products? How are my competitors putting out their products? How can I tweak it and make it my own, or make it unique, or put a different spin on it? Like, you really have to sit with yourself before you just jump out there. Right. I think that you should. One thing that I said is, people say the first step is to, post the content. No, that's part of the first step. The second half of that step is to keep the same momentum and the drive that you had prior to clicking post, and seeing what it does and how it performs. The most successful people are the people who continue to do the things that look like they don't work. Yeah. But they believe that much in it that I'm just going to continue to do it until it pops off. And I've seen so many creators that I actually do admire, and it's probably, I can count on one hand. It's just so many people, but there are people that I just watch because I think that they have quality content. But I'm always amazed that they've been in the game for X amount of time and they are just getting on. But I'm inspired because they kept doing what they love to do regardless of how it performed.
You're right about that. Like, I definitely believe that, I don't even know what I was about to say. I got lost in the thought for a second. But I mean, when it comes to brand, like, I'm a big proponent of somebody just like, all right, you need to start. But I mean, you're right, because a lot of people, they will start and then it won't really hit the way they thought it was going to hit. And then it makes them lose all the momentum that they had, or all the energy they had going into hitting posts. Because I realized that momentum is probably like the biggest thing when building a brand. Just because, as you're moving forward, you're going to kind of always pick up new people along the way. And then before you know it, you went from 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000.
And it happens when when you're not paying attention to it.
Right.
Your post that you did. Now, I was laughing because I don't do it as much anymore. But like, the need to like post and like look at how it's performing, addicted. Like, I used to be absolutely addicted. Like, driving myself refreshed. Like, are you kidding me? The same 20 people an hour ago, like, this hasn't moved. It is like, so you are killing yourself. Yeah. Because you can't control people. You can't control the algorithm. You can just only control how you show up. And if I loved everything that I did in the video, like, I always ask myself, well, I allow myself to feel, because we want our stuff to pop. However, did I show up the best that I could have showed up when I created that video? If the answer is no, then you go back to the drawing board. If it's yes, then you just grow forward. Yeah. Just keep going. Eventually you're gonna get there. Right. But the focus you can't be, focused on the vanity metrics. Right. Like even how you showed up, posting every single day. Like, I thought that was phenomenal. And it wasn't just like you were showing up, you were talking to us, you were sitting down, and then you gave us like the whole highlight. And I mean, just your drive to encourage people that they can do whatever it is that you want to do. But if you're interested in what I do, this is how I do what I'm doing. You never come off the scene and say, this is what you need to do. You always say, this is what I do. These are the things that help my business thrive. These are the things that you should consider. Like, I'm a language person. So your word choice, that's another reason why I follow you, because you don't put it in stone. Research is not in stone. It's evolving. Right. So there might be a strategy that someone else has, but you're telling them, if you follow me, this is what I do. And you can try it. Try it out. You encourage us to at least try it. Yeah, I feel like everybody should try it. Like I said, it might be something that works for me. It might not work for you, but I feel like I've been doing this long enough where I've been putting out content, but I've also been actually doing work for people, and I feel like it works. So it is what it is. And that's the part people forget. Like, you also get blindsided by social media because you're already doing the work. It's just not on the platform. And then you get on the platform and then you're like, oh no, I suck. But you're getting paid. People are paying you. Yeah. People are paying you. This is just, the presence. You want more people to know what you do. Right. It's all about the visibility. So for the people that, want to book you or, follow you,
where can people find you at?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Angie B Winn. Everything's Angie B Winn. That's AngieBWINN. Angie B Winn. My website is www.angiebwinning.com. And then our me and my husband's social media page for our business, Be a Creative, is at Be a Creative. And it's also in my bio on my Instagram page.
All right, sounds good.